And Kraken Slayer, I think next season is like the best ADC item, from what I know. Alright, should we go over the Nemesis video now? Nemesis Fnatic.
Did
we watch this, guys? Here we go. I haven't watched this. The only thing that I could change in my pro career would be to quit at Worlds 2020. There's so many clips of me talking about Fnatic on YouTube where the whole comment section is against me. If people just rewatch these clips when I'm talking about Fnatic, they will realize that everything I'm talking about is true. Fnatic is a shithole. That's all you need to know. Miracle that I survived 2 years in there. And I'm also like blacklisted by a lot of teams because of the narrative that I'm a bad teammate. They don't want to deal with this. Also, I associate myself with certain people that orgs wanna blacklist. Like, it was basically just like going to high school and getting bullied by 500 people every day. Like, I couldn't take it.
Worlds 2020, the event that would seemingly end Nemesis' career, or at least keep him away from the esports community for years to come. This European prodigy mid laner had things going for him, and today he's arguably capable of contesting top 4 mid laners in the LCK, having recently reached rank 2 on the Korean server, but he just ends up streaming, saying that he has been blacklisted by LEC organizations and cryptic mentions of mistreatment by the Fnatic organization. This really begs the question of what just happened in Worlds 2020 that made Nemesis walk on this dark path. Let's explore the rabbit hole of one of League's biggest mysteries. If you'd like to support the content and the research I do, consider buying very cheap RP, cheap battle passes, and or orbs. You could also just smash the fucking subscribe button. Otherwise, links are in the comments and the description. Before we continue this video, I would ask 2 things of you. The first one is to watch the entirety of the video. Most of my videos tend to just provide background on the situation, at least in the first half of the video, as I love giving context, whereas the second half of the video tends to come to the juicy parts that you're all here for. Secondly, I would ask you to leave any preconceptions or presuppositions that you have of Nemesis before forming your opinion on him or on this topic. Nemesis was born in Breznice, Slovenia, but grew up in Sevnica. A little fun fact is that Melania Trump, the wife of Donald Trump, also grew up in this city, effectively making Nemesis the second most famous person from Sevnica. This city wasn't exactly anything notable, just your average Slovakian outskirts city, which kinda gives you that hollow feeling. Nemesis discovered League of Legends via a browser game named Travian, which he played with his brother. They took turns playing on the one computer that they had in the household, and Nemesis, watching his brother, would catch up to get on par with his skills, even surpassing him at some point. School for Nemesis wasn't something he was interested in, and he had a quick aptitude for video games, which is what he wanted to focus on in life. Nemesis began participating in LAN events, roughly about 7 of them, and was the only undefeated Slovenian at LAN. He played with his brother Hyper and also Crowny. Nemesis and his brother laned bot lane together, whereas Nemesis played support. Nemesis' team was pretty good, even having the best Slovenian players on the team, such as Mickey X at some point. Things were going well for Nemesis, so he decided to become a professional player already in elementary school. His classmates and teachers didn't really believe in him, but his brother seemed to think that he had the skills to easily become a professional player. Nemesis would have to aim for the national leagues to get his goal of playing in the S-tier leagues, and so he did. Nemesis would eventually get picked up by Mad Lions when they played in the Spanish League of Video Games Professionals, or LVP Superliga. This was new to Nemesis, as he was in Slovenia for almost his whole life, whereas his biggest trips were just class trips with his school, but now he had to go to Spain. Ironically, Nemesis' first day at the team house would be as our prelude or a foreshadowing for what was to come later in his life, an experience with the dark side of esports. And on the first day, on the same day that I arrived, I'm obviously exhausted from travel, like I look like shit, whatever, right? The first day, Arnea forces us to scrim. I'm like, well, shit, that's not a really good idea, but okay, let's go scrim. I was taking scrims as serious as I could. Obviously, I wasn't performing to my 100% capacity, but my teammates were all CBAing the scrim. So like, we're losing the scrim, we like lose like a game or two. Aranea goes and tells us in the face, if you guys don't win the next game, I'm literally booking you all flight tickets and you're going all home. And I'm just like, what the fuck is my first day of being here? And yeah, then we took it slightly more serious.
You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
And then the day was fun after.
You could be.
No, he obviously said that jokingly, but you know.
Well, this is how funny. There's no jokes are normally funny.
Yeah.
Nemesis would perform extremely well in the LVP and even getting a pentakill during the Iberian Cup of 2018, awarding him the MVP title. He also managed to get second place in the Superliga season 13, losing first place in a narrow 2-3 to Giants only the Brave. The timing of this would be perfect, as Fnatic would have an opening starting mid lane position with Caps leaving. This spot was a tall order to say the least to fill, as Caps at the time, and still is, considered the best mid laner in EU. To fill his shoes, granted to Nemesis, was a task appropriate for the hungry Nemesis. He would fill that spot and effectively start his actual pro career already 1 year playing in the national
Prince Breezy, thanks for the spam. Everything in the video so far is correct.
leagues. Nemesis also often looked up to Faker as his idol and actually followed his example in terms of an esports athlete's composure by having the same thought process as Faker. You see, Faker has always held his composure as an esports athlete, showing mostly no emotions at almost all the time, being calm and collected. Just like Faker, Nemesis also followed this example during his own esports career, and it's something that would stick with him. This composure or apparent emotionless presentation of yourself is integral to discussing what is to come and has been with him since before the Mad Lions arc. You should also note that even though someone has a composure, he isn't really an emotionless being, he just doesn't choose to show it in the public eye. The 2019 era of Nemesis being in Fnatic would have its own taste of the bitterness of esports. In 2019, from a pure statistical standpoint, there were some superficial struggles being shown. In the spring split, the roster came back from a 3-7 record 5 weeks into the split and would thereafter go on an 8-game win streak and venture to the playoffs in the 3rd seed. They would finish in the semifinals, losing 1-3. In the summer split of 2019, their record was better, boasting a 14-4 record in the split and finishing off the playoffs 2nd place once more, losing to their rival G2 by 2-3. And lastly, the 2019 Worlds event would culminate in Fnatic reaching 6th place after losing to the Worlds winners FunPlus Phoenix in the quarterfinals. The roster had some internal struggles as well, but mainly players who didn't fit together and didn't like each other. For example, Broxah would retrospectively corroborate this.
I think Nemesis was a good player. I don't think we fit that well together, both in terms of playstyles and like personality wise, but I don't have anything against him. It's just like we never really became super close friends, just because we're so different. But I have nothing against him at all. I mean, we are just extremely different people.
So in that sense, there was strife in the team. In the 2020 season, Nemesis stayed on the roster and got signed once more, but there were some changes. Youngbuck, the coach of Fnatic, would leave and Fnatic would replace him with Mithy, who ventured to the coaching position for seemingly the first time after his 11th month tenure in Origin as a support player. Mithy's reign over Fnatic would be dark, which we will explain more in depth later on, but his reign would also showcase his incompetence as a coach. Reportedly, Mithy tends to be a coach who appeals a lot to authority and also is very feelings-based. These are two qualities that are detrimental to a coach's character. Fnatic also replaced Broxah with the controversial SK jungler Selfmade while keeping the rest of the roster together. Selfmade joined the Fnatic team with the help of Nemesis and Nick de Cesare, otherwise known as LS. This was mainly because Selfmade was previously the jungler who played in Mad Lions with Nemesis, and they were friends together. Selfmade has had a controversial past, mainly due to his toxicity, which can trace all the way back to L9, where he was among the founding members of that club. The 2020 season would showcase just how bad Selfmade's toxic traits can get, and as well as fracture the friendship between Nemesis and Selfmade. Fnatic's roster was doomed from the start, mainly due to incompetence. This roster comprised of mainly players who saw the game differently. If we assign red players as players who are much more narrow-minded, they view things more simplistic, don't take everything into consideration, or don't see the bigger picture and push the limits. Blue players would be the stark opposite, where they view things from a bird-eye view and not simplistic. Obviously, a perfect roster would be pure blue players, but in the case of Fnatic, that wouldn't be the case, with Reckless and Nemesis being arguably blue, and with both Selfmade and Hillsang being the red archetype players coupled with a substandard coach. Their spring split would come up with a 13-5 record, and their summer split became extremely tough for Fnatic. They finished off with a score of 9.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that... Okay. Listen, I want to say it, okay? I'm going to say it. Digesting players into like blue or red is better than nothing. However, it's still fucking stupid. Okay? Like, there's no way you can put a human being and just, you know,
fuck, what is the word I'm looking for? You can't like describe a player based on 5 different colors, even though the colors have more meaning. Like, humans are way too different. They're way too different. Like, if humans were so easy to figure out, man, then with like the fucking scientists in laboratories would probably like be able to like fucking figure out the whole picture on you, but they can't, because humans are so fucking complex. At the same time, I do think that it's just it's still better than nothing, you know. All I'm saying is like, you know, I don't, you know.
Which barely gave them a place in the top 4 and thus the start of the playoffs in the semifinals of the upper bracket. Fnatic managed to secure their place in the grand final but would lose 0-3 against G2 Esports, who avenged their earlier defeat to Fnatic in the playoffs tournament. So it was clear to see that Fnatic had some issues with the team, but nevertheless, individually speaking, there were a lot of great players on this team. The reason for their tough summer split can be attributed to their roster being dysfunctional. Reportedly, their talks, discussions, and team meetings weren't used efficiently. Their conversations weren't based in reality, and there was no structure to their methodology or how they would go through things, reach conclusions, or how to have conversations or conduct the day. Issues would keep coming up, and because no preventive measures were taken such that it didn't come up again. Moreover, the players had various and different fundamental views of the game. The Fnatic roster was a big team with big egos, as it is comprised of very individual talented players but also inherently different players. There was some minuscule good that came out of this difference though. Nemesis, for example, advocated for Selfmade's Evelynn pick due to it being a strong pick at the time.
But you guys realize that the only reason I was playing Eve, or I was allowed to play Eve, was actually Nemesis, right? Because Nemesis thought himself that Eve and Karthus are like the best junglers in the game. And then he was playing Lucian for me and sacrificing himself. I mean, it sounds weird sacrificing a Lucian, but yes, he was dropping waves often to just help me and stuff like this and not playing for lane.
However, the sheer strength of the negatives outshined all. Selfmade, for example,
That's not accurate.
opted to play with Bwipo and stated that the mid-jungle synergy was non-existent. Selfmade also retrospectively criticized Nemesis for being a passive player, which, for the record, doesn't really make sense, seeing as other pro players have the same stats as Nemesis.
Like, look at Nemesis, for example. I'm not saying that Nemesis is a bad player, but
Cheesecakes, thanks for sub.
he's a mid laner, right? And his average kill participation per game is 30%, which is insanely fucking low. Like, he wins so many games where he has less than 50% kill participation, right? And to me,
Which is a useless stat without context.
that's kinda illegal as a mid laner, but doesn't matter because he like doesn't die and just farms always. He has good CS, he's always useful at some point in the game.
Selfmade also complained how Nemesis wasn't conceding points because he was washed by LS's view on the game that you couldn't argue with, which just sounds that Nemesis wouldn't take bullshit, to be fair.
Like, I was in Mad Lions with Nemesis, right? We're like really good players together and buddies. And then he joined Fnatic and he wanted me as a mid laner, and then as a jungler. And then when I joined Fnatic, he became the best friends with LS, and we were not even like that big of a buddies anymore because he just had his washed by LS view of the game that
I will not speak.
you couldn't argue with. Well, thankfully he's not like that anymore, and our synergy was not really existent. I was mostly
This is completely untrue.
trying to play with Bwipo back then.
Nemesis also disliked how Hylissang frequently died at seemingly random occurrences in the game.
I think Hylissang's like...
Why not speak? Cause like I don't wanna like I don't wanna cause trouble, man.
Really existent. I was
It's just not true. Like I don't know what to say. Like what am I supposed to speak?
He just had his washed by LS view of
I had no wash by view,
we were not even like that big.
and the reason why me and Selfmade weren't that big friends is not my issue. Like, it wasn't my fault. He was not good friends with anyone. Okay?
Buddies anymore because he just had his
He
washed
had his own personal issues.
by LS view of the game that you couldn't argue with. Well, thankfully he's
I tried to be really good friends with him. He didn't want it.
not like that anymore, and our synergy was not really existent. I was mostly trying to play with Bwipo back then.
But
Nemesis
that's all I'm gonna say. Like, I don't want to shit on him or something like that. He just had his own issues. Like, it's not
Also disliked how Hylissang frequently died at seemingly random occurrences in the game.
I think Hylissang's like a very similar player to how he used to be.
Wait,
let me hear again.
Nemesis also disliked how Hylissang frequently died at seemingly random occurrences in the game.
I think Hylissang's like a very similar player to how he used to be. Like, to me, in my opinion, Hylissang's like a very similar player each year, which is there's a lot of int moments that happen for no reason. He obviously plays like his own champions really well. Yeah, I mean he's a good player. He's just too many int moments in my opinion. That's like his biggest problem.
Because we had a rough fucking year. 2020 was a rough fucking year. Like, that was a hard year.
I mean, we lost.
I don't think what I said is like controversial. Like it's a meme, right? Everyone in the community memes. Well, Hylissang's inting. I didn't say anything new. I just said. Like, this is, you can just watch the gameplay. Like, a lot of times he's just, like, out of position, he dies. Or this is just int. That's all I said. Like, I didn't say anything new. That's like...
Every day. We had, like, multiple team booms as well, where people lost their mind. But I think every time we went up on stage, everyone tried their absolute best to win. And our player skill ceiling was probably the highest I've ever had, maybe. But in scrims it was a mess. Oh my god. Most of the days went like 0-6 or 1-5.
Vippo allegedly stated that Nemesis' view of the game is very different from the rest of the team. Effectively, issues within the team would persist and never be dealt with. Corroborating statements and leaks also mentioned how Selfmade in particular was becoming increasingly toxic and started to flame his fellow teammates. According to a link posted by Vulu, Selfmade was always flaming his teammates hard, even up until 2021 Fnatic, which is beyond the events of what we will explore in this video. He would other times allegedly flame and blame Nemesis post-game at multiple instances. Nemesis' response to this Vulu tweet was just Jungle Gap and Upset Road XD, which seems to imply that this may be accurate. Moreover, allegedly players would argue about past events while they're in-game, which is just a weird thing to happen in the first place, further contributing to the aspect of dysfunctionality. So the environment on the team was pretty negative to say the least, and this negativity would continue during the lifespan of this roster. A little known fact is that Ellis was actually heavily involved with Fnatic roster during this time span. This is indicated by a Patreon Q&A posted on the 1st of August 2020 asking if LS was negatively impacted by the poor performance of Fnatic. My sources explained that LS would slowly be integrated into Fnatic, although he didn't officially join Fnatic even though he got offered the coaching role at 2 points. LS would show up at scrims and draft discussions and even advocated for Rekkles to play non-traditional ADC champions like Karma, Senna and Shoga. There was even a Reddit thread made about this, and this was because of conversations LS
Where's the
had with
Soraka?
Rekkles. LS started spending more time with Fnatic in summer for free and whenever he had time. Mithy and LS talked on a few occasions only, and initially Mithy didn't like that Nemesis talked to LS as much as he did and would further dislike that players would eventually start having more conversations with LS. But the onset of Worlds 2020 would unfold a very...
Yeah, but this is true. Like... how do I say it? Yeah. I got told I can't talk to LS at that time because, well, there was no reasoning. It's just LS equal bad. So I'm like, okay, fine. Then I stopped talking to LS for like a month or some shit like that, and then something else was the problem. It's like, I'm like, all right, guys. At this point, you guys are just searching for things to blame on me, which is just like. Can't even give me proper reasons. You know, like, it's just so stupid.
Very dark turn of events. The Worlds 2020 event had a lasting impact on Nemesis, as it seems from this point onward his pro career would fade into nothingness, lingering on as a streamer for Gen G. What exactly happened and how did this come to be? Prior to Worlds 2020 even starting, Nemesis was informed by the Fnatic management that he is going to be replaced. This information was revealed in retrospect and caused quite a stir. However, Nemesis also stated that this didn't affect him whatsoever, but something else did that is completely beyond his control as a human being.
Did you expect after Worlds that you may get replaced? Or did you think you will get another chance?
I knew I was getting replaced during Worlds, when even before I played one game of Worlds, I knew it, because they leaked it. Doesn't that fuck your mental? No, not that part, something else. Dealing with circumstances that are unlivable for a human being, that fucks my mental, not the fact that they do that.
Do you think it was deserved? But I feel very bad for you, bro.
I mean, that's just subjective opinion, I'm not gonna say anything. It's just, I think any player in the world will get replaced.
under those circumstances even faster. That's what I think. I don't think there's a single player that would survive.
Fnatic emerged out of groups in second place with a score of 4-2. In the quarterfinals, however, they would face Top Esports. This series was exciting to say the least, and at one point Fnatic were leading 2-0 against Top Esports despite not being favorites. However, Top Esports surprisingly started to play much better and won, cementing this as the first reverse sweep in World Championship history. Nemesis had some objectively bad plays during this series, which were notable, but his teammates were also to blame as they were playing just as poorly. Selfmade, with his toxic past, would go on to flame Nemesis while they were in Game 5, which is just unfathomable to how a pro player should conduct himself. We can go back to Fnatic's voice comms, where every match was included except the last game, which was just suspiciously outright skipped.
I don't think Selfmade flamed me during the game. I don't think this is right. I don't remember.
I mean, one of the evidences we have for this was that Selfmade also came with this distasteful passive-aggressive comment prior to Game 5 starting.
Game 5 it is.
Okay, but like seriously, I refuse to play 5 games.
You're not gonna play or what?
Can we sub in Felix?
Last game never happened, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. We're at Game 4 right now.
No, this is... No, this is wrong. This is wrong. When he says, can we sub in Felix? Okay. It means he wants to be replaced in jungle. Not me. Okay. Because the meme back then is that Maggie Felix plays every role in Challenger, and he played scrims as jungle, no, not scrims, like solo queue games as jungle all the time back then. So he's referring to himself here.
Ooh. It's fine, guys.
The rest of Game 5 was not included in the mic check, but VODs of this is available, since I think Fnatic is still harboring these VODs, as, you know, the team would have to go through that post-Worlds 2020 as a VOD review. Furthermore, Nemesis in particular would state in a future podcast by Don Jake that everyone was just out of it mentally by Game 5. Nemesis also had no say in the champion picks, where Mithy, a feelings-based coach, would force Nemesis to play champions he didn't want to play.
Kaplan, thank you for this prime.
I mean, to even prove that Mithy is an appeals to authority guy, he later said in a press conference post-game that Velka's pick was a decision he made, as this was a common pick by Chovy. Basically, you know, another appeal to authority.
We played in scrims against DRX, playing Velkos, and then we tried one game ourselves, and we thought it's actually quite good.
Probably my champion choices. I mean, my champion choices. Not that I should have made my champion choices, and then I should have played better Game 5, because Game 5 I was just out of it a bit.
So you didn't feel like you pressed enough for the champions that you wanted? Do you remember what champions you wanted?
Yeah, I remember. Game 3, I think, or Game 4. Both those games I played champs I didn't want to play.
What did you want to play?
I don't know what I wanted to play, I just know I didn't want to play them. There was like other options, but...
And how much of that do you think it comes from... I mean, you're saying that you're not someone that necessarily speaks up when something dumb is happening. You rather will just sit and let it...
No, I will always speak up when something dumb is happening. The problem is when it keeps reoccurring and people keep doing the same mistake.
Would you consider the picks that were being made a dumb decision?
No, I think it was a very dumb decision.
So at that point, presumably, that wasn't the first time that a dumb decision had been made?
No, 100% not.
No, so why did you not speak up then?
I did.
But you didn't feel like you spoke up enough though?
No, I did speak up. What I should have done is, in Champs League, I should have just locked in a different champ with my keyboard and mouse. And I'm not kidding when I say this. No, I am not kidding.
No, I know you're not kidding. It's fucking hilarious though. It's hilarious that you would need to go to that level.
I don't think I need to say that this kind of thinking is extremely wrong. If you want to argue for a thing, you need to explain why and how, not just
if I did that,
because person B did it.
Bro, if I actually locked in another champion and this got leaked to the public, not only the community hates me, they probably insta-fire me.
Especially in the league scene where pro players make mistakes all the time, such as building World Nomicon when there is zero need for it. If you still think Mithy doesn't appeal to this doctrine of thinking, you could ask Swen about the Mithy Saya argument they had, which was a huge blow up. After the test game, Nemesis, Bippo, and Reckless all allegedly talked about how Mithy went on a tirade against Nemesis backstage, which basically amounted to borderline verbal abuse, just as something you would hear from the LPL scene. Moreover, Reckless thought that this behavior was unacceptable and and would defend Nemesis, and this
Storak,
Mithy
thank you for the
incident
Prime.
would become a very heated backstage thing as it went back and forth between Mithy and Reckless. I think Reckless reportedly mentioned that Mithy did it because Nemesis doesn't have a strong personality such as others on the team, and that Nemesis doesn't talk back, making it easy to hammer down on him. Mithy's behavior that day was pretty abusive and predatory, and it was very unwarranted as he looked to use Nemesis to blame for the game result. And you might psychoanalyze this, but if you look at the press conference again, you can just see the look at Nemesis during the whole thing, and it looks pretty dark. Eventually, and allegedly, the Fnatic management would let players vote on whether Nemesis can stay in the team or not. Hylissang, Selfmade, the supposed best friend of Nemesis, and Bwipo went into an alliance and voted for Nemesis to leave. Reckless had a...
No, it's not correct. They had no vote. That was gone already, even if they vote or not.
Whether Nemesis can stay in the team or not. Hylissang, Selfmade, the supposed best friend of Nemesis, and Bwipo went into an alliance and voted for Nemesis.
Bro, I'm already
to
gone
leave.
here.
Reckless had a somewhat of a neutral position as he didn't want to cause a rift between his personal relationship with the other players. So effectively, it was...
Like, obviously they're going to
Nemesis,
ask them for their opinion, but I'm already gone.
and Nemesis alone voted to keep himself on the team.
To my knowledge, and my memory could be incorrect here, they had one-on-one player meetings going into 2021, and in the one-on-one player meetings, various players said who they did and didn't want to play with. That is what Tolkien is referring to here.
Regardless, as mentioned previously, Nemesis was already going to leave Fnatic due to the management's decision to replace him. Nemesis did also mention that something affected him during the Worlds 2020 run, which was something he didn't have control over.
Not that part, something else. Dealing with circumstances that are unlivable for us human beings.
I'm not entirely sure what this is, but we can speculate, I guess. While staying on his hotel for Worlds, Nemesis apparently lost 4 kilograms in body weight and all the 8 rice and Kit Kats. I'm not sure if this is 100% meme, but yeah, if you eat that, it's pretty bad. And this was also during the COVID situation. The peripherals granted to Nemesis were also substandard and made him feel awkward during play. There was also this one time where Nemesis actually criticized Hylissang since he said that the hotel food was gourmet. What affected Nemesis during 2020? I'm not sure about it. It could have to do with his
I
diet.
don't get what was said in the video right now. What?
Something personal that happened unbeknownst to anyone, the massive amount of issues that happened prior to the Worlds 2020 event, the Mithy incident backstage that amounted to verbal abuse, or the fact that his peripherals was substandard. But that doesn't seem to be a big cause for performance issues, at least in my eyes. So for that, it remains a mystery. But what happened after the test game was unwarranted, undeserved, and completely unacceptable. Nemesis following Worlds 2020 would become a scapegoat for both fans and the team alike to blame for the first reverse sweep in Worlds history. This undeserved, inaccurate conception had grim effects on Nemesis' path forward. The post-game Reddit discussion of the test game would criticize Nemesis to the extreme and even personally attack him. All of Nemesis' mistakes would be highlighted and discussed, and for the record, on Champions he was forced to play without any consideration of his teammates' mistakes. Nemesis needs to get replaced yesterday. I hope Fnatic replaces Nemesis next year. He's had enough chances. Plenty of mids in the EU will have more potential. Threads after threads, comments after comments, discussion after discussion. Nemesis was...
What was this again?
Threads after...
DoNB analysis of TEP versus Fnatic series? Yeah, I remember that, when DoNB made complete wrong analysis of what happened in the game. He went over my Galio clips and said, I should have ulted there, and then I went over those clips and the ult would have not changed anything, nor it was correct. Like, yeah, I remember.
Threads,
nice.
Comments after comments, discussion after discussion. Nemesis was the issue. He was the problem. The people have had their say, and thus the false narrative of Nemesis being a toxic, bad player would be spun. Moreover, this narrative was further perpetuated when the Bwipo Nemesis drama would occur. In an article from November 2020, Bwipo gave his take on the reasons behind Fnatic's failure. Bwipo suggested that Fnatic should have ditched their mid-jungle combo of Selfmade and Nemesis, particularly because of Selfmade's inability to play selflessly. This obviously came from Selfmade's singular playstyle of carry junglers, which was incompatible with the roster. For example, you had the Abysmal Vel'Koz, Kha'Zix mid combo picked in the test game. Bwipo then commented,
and after so many months, it's not something that you feel like getting into. That's why our mid jungles were dysfunctional, right? Because from square one they disagreed and they never like really fought it out, you know. And this happened for 2 years in a row. This happened with Brox's Nemesis as well as self-made Nemesis. And you can be like, oh, we can blame Nemesis for that. He was the mainstay, right? Yeah. Roster, like the roster lineup changes that I was suggesting was to change our mid-jungle. And you might be surprised, like, wow, you know, change self-made? Are you insane? It's like, no. He's a very strong player individually. He's one of the best junglers in Europe to play selfishly. But when it comes to playing selflessly, I've personally had a very hard time getting him to understand the view of the game that I want him to have in order to play selflessly. And this is why, like, it was funny to me when you said, like, you didn't really, or that I sit back and watch things happen, as I used to. But I learned that, like, this ends in me having a team that I don't really like. And that was the problem I had this last year, is that I didn't feel like our team was connected whatsoever.
Moreover, Reckless.
Okay. First, let me comment on this, okay? What just happened here, what Bwipo did, is really bad. Okay. Because it's a bad view of a team. Why? Because you don't just compare two roles in the game with each other, and then if they're bad, your conclusion is that they're bad. Like, if I compare myself, I also have to compare how am I doing with my support, AD carry, top laner, right? We're not just playing, like, mid jungle is not just the two roles connected. Like, is mid top never works? Mid support never works. Mid ADC never works, or what? And the same goes for top lane, the same goes for jungle, the same goes for ADC, the same goes for support. That's why I think this analysis of two people not working together is just bad, because you're not talking about any other piece when there's 5 players in the game.
Reckless was joining the rival Team G2 at the time. Reckless seemed to be a proponent of wanting the team to stay for another year. In an episode of League in Action, he thought that the 2020 roster was specifically the highest skill ceiling he has ever been a part of. Reckless also reportedly responded on stream to a question regarding Nemesis. He was asked whether Nemesis is worse now or before, and Reckless said that—
I also have to say, like, right? We had a lot of narratives in League of Legends in the past, like, 5 years, right? On the broadcast of LEC, where they go like, oh, this mid jungle is bad. Oh, this bot lane is bad. Oh, this XX is bad, right? But nowadays, you don't hear it as much anymore. How many people have been saying Razor Kumanoid is a bad mid jungle, and then nowadays no one says it anymore? Because you don't just compare two roles with each other. Like,
Nemesis is great, and he's on par with Caps, arguably the best mid laner in EU.
I think Nemesis is worse now than before? No way, dude. Nemesis is great. Doesn't that guy have like multiple highlight reels on Reddit every day now? I mean, maybe Caps is better, but that doesn't mean Nemesis is bad. It doesn't always have to be like one or the other. Both can be good.
Nemesis did respond to Bwipo's criticisms.
I don't do those things. It's super unprofessional. I don't know. I don't go to public and talk shit about other people from my team.
Now, there's also this kind of revisionist sense when discussing this topic, or this history, I guess. There's what people said at the time, and there's what people said after. Bwipo later apologized for these comments, and now things between them seems to be amicable.
When's the boxing match between me and Nemesis? I don't think anytime soon. I think a lot of people think I hate Nemesis, and I really don't. I think what I said was definitely wrong, and I feel bad about saying what I said, because I don't think it was necessary. I think that was the main, that's the main gripe I have. Like, now that I've had time to calm down after the years, because we had a rough fucking year. 2020 was a rough
Bring back Burst.
That was a hard year.
Our transplant is needed.
I ever speak about my teammates in a negative context, or even something that could be perceived as a negative context, and I regret doing that, and I feel bad. I'm sorry for doing that. But fuck it, I live life, I make mistakes, and I deal with them.
Before we talk about the aftermath events, what were the reactions from the management from Fnatic? The story told so far seems to be autonomous and zero interaction from the management. In a future drama with a data analyst who worked with Fnatic named Tolkki, we would get some more insights. Tolkki criticized Sam, the CEO of Fnatic, and Dardo, the team manager responsible for the League of Legends team. Tolkki mentioned that they have no clue about anything performance related, and as a team they had absolutely no support. I didn't see the point in continuing there. Torpedo my whole career because of them. They fully knew Selfmade was a liability going into spring 2021. Nobody on the team wanted to play with him, but they benched Nemesis instead. Bwipo and Hylissang wanted him out. Dardo pushed and said Selfmade was the right player, and we had to keep him with Bwipo and Hylissang. Then, wow, surprise, we had a terrible team environment. Nemesis reacted to this and said the following.
Should I prefer not to speak here, or I'm not sure if I should speak. This is true. Sam and Dardo are both clueless. They're definition of paycheck stealers. I mean, everyone knows this already. Fnatic fans needed 50 years to figure out that, people in the management have no clue. Happens. I had to deal with their bullshit my entire time being there, and yeah, I was, I was the scapegoat. So put me on the spike, chop my head off, and your bullshit continues when I'm gone. There is no surprise here. It doesn't matter. This guy's losing his job very soon. It's going to happen. Fnatic fans are just eating him alive, which is just right as fuck. Why did they decide to kick me before Worlds? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I just had a lot of enemies, I guess. Happens. I had a lot of enemies and no allies. Someone has to be the scapegoat. But yeah, main reason why everything happened is this guy right here. This guy is playing Game of Thrones in LEC.
This leak or this comment originally
True.
came from Ellis' stream, who had permission to post it from Tolkien. Ellis, who had worked extensively with Fnatic for quite some time, mentioned that the internal support was terrible, meaning that reinvestment into the organization was not much, the gaming house was terrible, the furniture was substandard, and so was the headsets. There was also reportedly some issues with FPS on some of the computers.
Imagine a foster home where there's a lot of foster kids in the foster house, and the parents get a ton of paychecks and benefits from the government, and the parents get all the money, but then the inside of the house is just shit, and everything is the absolute bare minimum for the social workers, and the kids get nothing, and the parents keep everything. That is basically it. It is as if like the kids are just there to fund the paychecks and like make everything else like really good. That was the way I interpreted a lot of the stuff that would be told to me from people, as well as even like what you can see in the videos of like the just the setup and everything that they have. It doesn't look good. It does not look like there's a lot of reinvestment actually into the org. It looks like it's all about just profits, and that's just how it is.
So it seems from what Ellis and Nemesis says, not much internal support
Still
was
holds true
present,
to
and
this
management
day.
doesn't really care. Furthermore, raising issues to the management also seemed difficult. What Nemesis would perceive as issues wouldn't necessarily be discerned to be issues by Dardo. This is obviously a cause for concern, as he's in extreme position of power to do something about issues. But since, supposedly, if Nemesis raised issues, he would only be alone in raising those issues, and thus nothing would be done, and perhaps insinuated that Nemesis is rather the issue. This also caused Nemesis to adopt a stance that arguing was futile and wouldn't bring up any of these issues in Worlds 2020, as in his eyes nothing would happen, and his belief was with good reason, to say the least. For example, it seems like he didn't argue or resist the forced picks of Vel'Koz that were done by Mithy, especially when Nemesis didn't like the picks in that series, but in a future podcast with Don Jake again, he has a very retrospective take on this.
What I should have done is, in Champs League, I should have just locked in a different champ with my keyboard and mouse.
As for Sam, the CEO, he doesn't need to understand anything in principle, nor does he actually understand anything, as he is a CEO rather than a game manager. He shouldn't essentially be expected to know about the game or the team environment, and this is especially the case if he has a bunch of people around him telling him that everything is a-okay. We also have the cook, which is literally the guy who cooks or prepares food for the Fnatic League team. According to Ellis, he revealed that the cook was one of the most astute persons in Fnatic.
Now, I believe that there's one other person that knows that the team environment is absolutely horrendous, and he would very oftentimes talk about how bad the team environment was and things that he would observe. This person is the cook. Whoever is the cook at Fnatic, I do not know who the name is. He would listen in on team meetings, he would listen in on scrim feedback, he'd listen in on everything, and to my knowledge, he would talk with Nemesis sometimes. And the cook, whoever the cook was, would give his insight into how dysfunctional some things were on Fnatic, but obviously it's not his place to say.
Supposedly, he was able to discern from the way the conversation flows, word choice, sentence structure, etc., that, with high level of accuracy, there were issues and dysfunctionality within the team, and that things were happening from a mismanagement perspective. Nemesis was very fond of the cook, and also the videographer Pete. Nevertheless, it seems from Nemesis' experience in Fnatic 2020 is a tale of mistreatment and mismanagement by Fnatic, be it due to incompetence. After Worlds, Nemesis was still in contact with Fnatic and was originally going to be there as a streamer. However, he was also nervous as he wasn't making good money and his future seemed uncertain. His streaming hours would rapidly increase after staying as a streamer, and thus his streaming career would start properly. However, LS helped Nemesis get out of Fnatic by negotiating with Arnold Fur, the CEO of the Korean LCK team Gen.G. Nemesis and Fnatic mutually agreed to terminate their contract. Originally, LS was going to ask Joe Marsh, the CEO of T1, if Nemesis could join as an assistant coach or in a capacity to help the team. As
yeah,
LS was
wait,
going
I
to
remember this. I remember this. I remember it like it was yesterday. You know what happened? So I know I'm fucking out of Fnatic, right? So I still have 1 year on my fucking contract, and I'm like, holy shit. Then there's this opportunity for me to go to Gen.G. So I'm like, yeah, I'd rather go there than be in Fnatic. Okay. So I just tell them, yeah, I would like to leave. And they tell me like, yeah, we were thinking of keeping you as a streamer. And I'm thinking in my head, oh yeah, you guys aren't sure if Niska is gonna work out, huh? And you want a backup plan. Fuck you, I'm not playing no matter what. That's what I thought to myself. Yeah.
join as a strategic coach after passing a litmus test with Faker. Joe Marsh agreed that Nemesis could join in a non-official capacity due to the backlash of LS joining T1. Tucker Roberts was also coming to Korea, which is one of the top management executives in T1. After the T1 LS drama ensued, LS talked with John Kim, the chief operating officer, and asked if Nemesis could join in as a streamer just like LS was going to, telling John Kim that he would be helping his brand and setting Nemesis up. John Kim liked the idea. Reportedly, Crownshot was also helped by LS to join as a streamer, and Crownshot was going to join Gen.G. Joe Marsh did say that the backlash with LS was just too much and said that Nemesis couldn't join. It was already enough with one foreigner. Therefore, the idea was rather pitched to Arnold Fur, you know, Gen.G. When Crownshot and Nemesis were going to Korea, there would be
That's not Arnold.
a complication as Crownshot would get COVID. Nemesis didn't want to come to Korea then, as he would cite being alone as a reason that discouraged him from coming, but this was frustrating to LS and they would argue. LS also was reportedly heavily involved in assisting Nemesis by getting him a streamer position at Gen.G. Both Nemesis and Crownshot had to apply for visas to get to Korea. Crownshot's visa application went smoothly, but Nemesis' visa was going bad and it took weeks and weeks. This was because Nemesis didn't look into it as he kept streaming and doing other obligations for Gen.G at the time. Eventually, Arnold calls LS and says that he will remove Nemesis because it doesn't seem like Nemesis is interested in coming to Korea as the passport is lollygagging. Since LS knew a lot of his personal information, he did the work by calling the Korean post office, the Korean consulate, and the Slovenian post office and found out that Nemesis' passport is lost in transit. The visa process would be undone and this was going to be reset and essentially take more time. Arnold wasn't happy with this, but LS managed to
This
plead
is
with
not
the Korean
Arnold, is
consulate
it?
to not restart
no
the
way
process
this is
by
Arnold.
explaining and sending proof of what happened. Thankfully, the consulate agreed to not reset the process and Nemesis would come out to Korea somewhere in April of 2021. During Nemesis' early streaming career, LS featured Nemesis many times on his stream, co-streamed live viewed pro games, and they did podcasts together. LS also pivoted him sponsorships and percentages of sponsorship revenue in order to integrate him into the streaming sphere. LS didn't mind this as he was making a lot of money at the time. Nemesis' stream would go well and he grew rapidly, going from 2,000 average viewers to peaking 8,000 in April of 2021. Arnold met with LS and Nemesis later in the summer of 2021 and gave them both a gift. During the meeting, Arnold said that Nemesis was doing so well and never gave them any hassle, did good on sponsorship obligations, and therefore doubled Nemesis' salary on the spot. The lasting effects of the Fnatic 2020 time caused Nemesis to become blacklisted and painted him as a toxic player. Toxic is a very subjective word, and what I mean by that is in this context is that people think he's hard to work with, passive aggressive, you know, toxicity like that. Nemesis revealed relatively recently that he was blacklisted by LEC teams because of the narrative that he's a bad teammate and that he associates himself with blacklisted persons. The association with blacklisted persons is probably malice, and some would speculate even LS, and I first thought that as well, but it just doesn't seem like this is possible, but since LS has gotten numerous coaching offers, including from LECs over time, so so yeah, he probably isn't a blacklisted person. Nemesis also shared that he has negative references that teams share with each other, which hinders him from getting good offers or spots, whereas his good references have just come out recently.
The reason why he wasn't getting offers from the best teams is because he was not good enough. No, it's because the teams are already filled with players, and I'm also like blacklisted by a lot of teams because of the narrative that I'm a bad teammate. They don't want to. Like this Redditor really is stating he's not good enough, like implying that LEC teams have any discernibility to know who's good and who's not. Like, come on, man. Deal with this. Also, they just fucking listen to Reddit narratives, which player is good and which is not, and then they recycle or choose a new one each year. Come on. I associate myself with certain people that orgs wanna blacklist and they stay away. Therefore, they also blacklist me. Or I guess I did. That's just how the scene works. I'm not even flaming anyone. Not saying anything negative against anybody. It's just how esports scene works, okay?
Esports teams are also extremely influenced by the public perception of players. A lot of staff from esports teams actually just hire off Reddit in the esports scene. And with Nemesis' inaccurate reputation, the perception of him isn't exactly good, which further reinforces the quote-unquote death of his esports career. An issue with Nemesis is that he seemingly has had a lot of opportunities to repair his reputation and redeem himself career-wise, but never took steps to do so. Nemesis has
like what?
vocally stated multiple times on stream that he won't join bottom tier teams, and you know,
goddamn right.
That's fair, as Nemesis seems to earn more or equal to that of a pro player, and thus it's about the goal of a team.
It's not just about money, man. Being on an esports team is fucking mental torture. You're dealing with idiots, incompetence, left and right. It's actual mental torture. You have to understand something, right? The moment you signed with an esports team, it is your fucking duty to put everything, your whole fucking life. You just need to delete your whole life and just be a fucking soldier for the esports team. That is your duty. If you do not want to do that, you should not be a pro player. That's my opinion. Okay? So like, these fucking idiots think I'm gonna be a fucking soldier for these bottom tier teams where they're gonna like jail me with their contracts, you know, meet me with their, how do I say it, like, you know, send these like idiots at me, tell me how things are done and blah blah blah, these incompetent coaches, managers, whatever the fuck. Like, I'm not dealing with that shit on a bottom tier team. It ain't worth it for me.
Team to win worlds rather than playing for money.
It's just not.
The issue is that Nemesis has had...
People are salty that I have a choice. I'm gonna obviously take the better choice. Like, they give me like a shit, like, it's like you're choosing between a fucking job, right? One job is like actually good and one job is shit. And these people think I'm gonna take the shit job. No, I won't. I'll just take the better one until a better option like presents itself. Fahrenstein, you were the sub.
Arguably objectively good team offers, namely the offer for playing in C9 and FlyQuest. The C9 opportunity was a very close call as Nemesis would almost join. LS invited Nemesis initially to join C9 as their mid laner. He asked Nemesis to delay as he was negotiating with Jack, the CEO of C9. While delaying, Nemesis decided that he was not going to join. Malice, Sanchovis, Max Waldo, LS, and Fudge would attempt to convince Nemesis to join C9 again. However, a misunderstanding would develop when they talk with each other. This misunderstanding would be clarified by the lads, but Nemesis didn't respond to whether he would join or not.
Why Crownshot puts up with that? Because Crownshot does not have two options. He does not like streaming. He cannot do streaming for longer hours of time like I do. He does not have as much fun when it comes to streaming as I do, okay? We don't have the same options. Do you understand? It's not the same.
And thus it all fell short.
He wants
Fudge
to
then
only
role
play.
swapped from top to mid lane to take the C9 mid spot. There is also an alternative universe out there where we have a FlyQuest team with Nemesis, Vipo, Inspired, and LS coaching it.
There is a world where FlyQuest is Bippo, Inspired, Nemesis, Masubusio, LS.
That would have been actually such a banger, not gonna lie.
This team is also very stacked and capable of going far. Sadly, Nemesis didn't seem to perceive this as a good team and also feared that his stream would stagnate and thus both of these opportunities would fail. There's this phenomena when controversial Streamers gets lots of hype and insane viewerships, but then plummets. And if a community isn't fostered and the personality is cold and abrasive, what ends up happening is that they fall into this pattern of trying to regain what is lost.
Thank
This
you,
is what I
Bonus, for
think
this
is
prime.
the #1 scariest thing for a streamer. Actually, I have seen this happen quite a few times. Let's say that we measure 2 lines. Let's say the first line, we're gonna do blue for this. The first line, this is your actual viewership. Let's say that we mark somebody's career and we have like this or whatever. Let's say that a green line is the overall awareness of who you are. So like how many people have heard of you. As a function, unfortunately, this one can only increase, it never decreases. People don't forget about you. This is probably a relatively normal like growth cycle for an influencer. Is you gain popularity, more people hear about you, you kind of stay at around the same popularity, maybe do an event or two, kind of like people know who you are, but like you don't really gain much, okay? I think the scariest thing is when you are a streamer and then you have like a huge burst
I can't see it on. Oops.
in popularity. You get like a
I didn't know
huge
I can't
inflection point like this,
show that.
but your viewership ends up looking like this. I think this is like the scariest phenomenon to happen to a streamer. It's where you have an explosive growth moment
can?
where all eyes
Whatever.
are on you.
I'll show it
but
when
you can't convert
this face
any
is
of these
done.
people into viewers or followers. I think that, in my opinion, once this has happened, you're basically dead or on the way to being dead, or you have to totally reinvent yourself. I think that the scary thing about this is once the world has seen who you are and you've gotten all this exposure and people decided they didn't like you, where the f do you go for new fans? This is really scary. Anytime you get in front of a whole bunch of new eyes or a whole bunch of new people, you want to be converting those people into fans. You want them to stay around as fans. If they decide they've seen you, they don't like you, who are you going to go to in the future? Yeah, this is a scary cycle to be on.
Nemesis has done this pattern several times where he got close to quitting streaming altogether. Where for example Nemesis was going to quit streaming in either 2023 or 2024, I believe. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it's 2023. So the tale of Nemesis is tragic, because not only was he mistreated, but he was also scapegoated under a false narrative. His ruined reputation and seemingly destroyed career has no future as opportunities go by, but no decisions are made in the end. Having one of the best EU mid laners and arguably a person who can contest the top 4 LCK mid laners blacklisted is dreadful to think about. One can only ponder whether if things went different, or if, as Nemesis says, he quit before Worlds 2020, perhaps he would still be playing professionally.
Not sure. The only thing that I could change in my pro career would be to quit at Worlds 2020. Like quit before the tournament starts. Or quit in the middle of it. Because it would be the only way to not get like... It would be the only way to dodge the hate afterwards.
If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you didn't like the video, I thank you for watching. Make sure to check out my affiliate link down in the
So obviously, right, in a video like this, it's very hard. Like it's already 40 minutes, which is very long, but like he's saying a lot of things, but he's not showing facts because he can't, right? It's like either he heard it or he's like connecting the dots, which is fine. Skeleton Warrior, thanks for gifting 5. There were like obviously there were some inaccurate things here and there. There was a lot of lack of information for obvious reasons. A lot of some things he was connecting the dots, which is well, one thing he got completely right for sure in the video, but I can't say it publicly. He got completely right one thing in the video that I never really said. He kind of connected the dot there. Yeah. Anything else? Read comments. Yeah, it's... Listen, I already know what the comments is gonna be, man. The comments gonna be like, half of it is gonna suck my dick and the other half is gonna fucking hate me. You know? Like... You know? That's why I prefer just reading the hates. Because, like, you know, I don't wanna ego myself here or something. LS comment. Guys, come on. It's like, hey, I ain't reading all that, but I'm happy for you, or I'm sorry that like, you know what I mean? Like, are you serious? Do I really have to read this? Alright, here we go. Stop pretending to the things traveling me are inaccurate. I wasn't the only one who got there was a person who believed a foreigner visible in there. Okay, sorry, I'll read. After making her aware of everything, I believe she was the only one who personally called. The Junji Shimmer pitch came after T1 was no longer possible. I was trying to figure out another way. The initial call with Arnold took place when I was still living at T1 HQ, and I believe it was the call took place initially. A group call with them, then later was set up on KakaoTalk. The sponsorship part, yes, is brought under the same agency as me, but not many sponsors were given or cut to him the way the video says. Some of them very much larger sponsorship. I did some for money from my own contract in order to get him in all contract, mainly in the contracts. Super major one of the Cypher contract happened with Mobalytics, followed by what would have been Pro Guides and Skillcapped. A lot of sponsors we had were similar, we had the same agency. Some people might wonder why do that, but I say I was a best friend who I wanted to succeed and feel more confident in streaming, getting brand reputation. Okay, a lot of people constantly ask what happened between obviously I'm still with the probably. At one point my was friend, despite being my greatest friend, was had arguments, disagreements, and many friendships, and I was fuck, there's so much text. I was also less capable of equipped to handle situations like that compared to current me today. In my pursuit of certain things, I would lose track of other important characteristics of friendship, and there were many things I should have done different better in my isolated incidents. Couple this with the 2021 summer with a lot of personal hardship, several people died. My mental state led to me leaving the ancient house to move over an hour away, get away from my daily life, further adding to my also during this time period, my unhealthy and negative arrangement with money led to me under stickler situations that were certainly just stress-inducing for anyone involved. Any fucking water, man? My lips are so dry. Copy paste it into there? What the fuck is that, Jana? That I can now say 1.5 years of therapy and final know how it means I actually quite don't pursue emotional situations the same way allow me to help I can't read that, handle better. Obviously won't talk about details, nor will I ever further anything that I wrote about. I firmly stood by my stand nemesis, neither a toxic teammate. From everything that I witnessed firsthand, I was quite involved directly with Fnatic at several points. Nor do I think the negativity surrounding his reputation are accurate. He has been and will continue to be one of the best players in the game. Spider whatever is to on another nowadays. I have nothing but respect for him as a player and have only remaining for my that I can't speak English for my inability and ill-equippedness. Like, where does he get these words from, man? The person a better friend person during that time frame. I still detest anyone who would attempt to smear or undermine his achievement, skill, and gamer how he's a teammate. Love action, blah blah blah. This will ring true for matters in life and scapegoating the way I understood it happening in a lead player in Western League. Okay. Bro, you shut GPT. No, he didn't. It's just how he writes. It's just I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I did not see the video because I don't care too much, but I think the big part of the problem is Nemesis' personality. Based on what I've seen, Fnatic behind the scenes streams, he's not someone you would describe as a positive guy that keeps the mental of your team up. Based on what Bippo said, I think he was more of a person that had his own view of the game, was not really willing to discuss with, for example, Bippo about his view. Like, I really hate comments like this, okay? There was no player that discussed the game as much as I did. Not even fucking close, man. I played the most, I spent the most time talking about the game. Like, what are they saying, man? My whole life, every 24 hours of my day was just league and sleep. And this, do you really think my teammates did more of that than me? No fucking shot. They did not, man. If he says that Renekton is a fucking bad champion, he will stay with his opinion if others bring valid points. No, it doesn't work like that, man. I don't just say Renekton is a bad champion and that's it, and then I have to be the right one and they have to be the wrong one. Like, what? This doesn't just happen, man. This is conclusions. These are discussions done multiple times over multiple weeks, months. Do you understand? This isn't just like, oh, X champion bad, we will never play it. Like, does he think this is kindergarten or what? Like, hello? I hate people who think this is how humans operate, man. Like, of course, if I operate like that, I would be the fucking dumbest person and pro player that ever played League of Legends. It's not how it went down, man. Like, we're not gonna just record all our conversations of multiple hours through multiple months and then fucking have that ready for one day for me to reply to this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Imagine him as a passive-aggressive teammate that will always let you know if you did something bad in his eyes. God, man. Yes, man, I'm such a toxic teammate. Like, I ever did that. We are rolling eyes or deep breaths. Okay, man, I guess you just know me. Shit. Holy shit. Like, what the fuck? How does he just speculate like this? I never have deep breaths or rolling eyes, but sure. Man, is he living in my walls or what? Just someone that is not saying, it's okay, bro, that happens, let's play on our Charbas. Okay, listen. First of all, this is really dumb, okay? Let me tell you something, okay? If I misplay in a game, and someone walks to me and I say, it's okay, bro, that happens, let's play on our Charbas, right? If someone says that to me, I will be even more fucking tilted. This line, it's okay, bro, is probably one of the worst lines to like to cheer someone up. In most cases, you're probably just gonna tilt someone even harder. Come on. This is not how you fucking cheer someone up in most cases. Like, of course, I don't know how he actually behaves in a team environment. If someone knows he acted in recent, for example, I would appreciate it. Let me know all the showing over. Yes, I don't know if he will. I mean, okay, sure. I mean, it's just a speculation, but I hate it. It's fine. It's fine. I don't take it personal. This guy. He got good hot takes in the game when he's not crying about this and the champion one-shots him or mages being weak. I can't. Respect for him, but yeah, man. Okay. I mean, it's true. I do complain a lot about the game on stream, but I have, like, back when I was a pro player, I have never, ever come this close to complaining about the game. In fact, I don't even think I ever complained about the game back then. There was maybe one champion per month where maybe I had hate on, but like I never complained about the game back then because I liked the game way more than I do nowadays, you know. But it's not just nowadays. Complaining about the game is a lot of times just like filling up something in the stream to talk about. I'm not even kidding. Like a lot of times I'm like thinking on stream, should I say anything about this situation or should I just shut up? Because I can just shut up and then everyone's gonna think. And then chatters are gonna be like, how do you have such a positive mentality, right? And then the other side is like, I can really complain just to say something. Whatever. Okay, I don't know how many people are so offended that like the guy fucked up that he said Slovakia and Slovenia. It's just a mistake that can happen. Like, come on. It's just a mistake that can happen. A lot of people think Slovakia and Slovenia are the same thing. It's just a mistake, you know? It's like, it's not a big deal, man. What you say about 1420? Nemesis knew he was getting kicked. He's just plain wrong and had done further research. You could have figured it out yourself. Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean? I literally stated it multiple times publicly that I knew I was getting kicked. What do you mean? And at 12:14, people didn't allegedly state that he literally went on a podcast and complained for like an hour about Nemesis viewed the game and Nemesis refusing to play certain champs. If he did play those champs, he did best to lose. I don't know, man. It's just never happened, but fine. In fact, it was the opposite. But it's fine. Anything else? A lot of misinformation here, the most obvious one being that he was told that he'd be replaced before Worlds 2020, which was disproven by Dardo in his recent interview with Torn. Oh really? It was disproven? How so? Oh, my word against his word. Well, yeah guys, Dardo is gonna go in an interview and really say, hey, Nemesis knew he was right. Yeah, because that really is in his best interest, right? You fucking moron. Yeah? He's gonna agree with me, because that really works in his best interest, right? No, surely he wouldn't say the opposite, which works in his interest. Wow, what a disproven here. You can really disprove a source that I never told him about, right? My information that I never told him, you can really disprove that, I'm sure. Bro, I can't. These people. I mean, there's so many comments. So many comments. Nemesis was not told by the Fnatic manager that he was going to get fired before Worlds 2020. Esports Maniacs posted a rumor saying he was, and Nemesis believed it and didn't say anything. Not true at all. Not true at all. Isn't this guy the YouTuber?
The riot just absolutely.
He is. How does this guy know about this? What is this? Hello? How does this guy know my source of information? I am mind-blowing. He's also had several offers in both EU and NA, so the idea of him being blacklisted but the sim doesn't hold up. Even if you get offers, you can still be blacklisted by a lot of organizations. So the idea does hold up. He doesn't want to join a team that isn't likely to go into a top team, but no other player in similar position would get that opportunity. What? What? What does that even mean? Doing well in Korean solo queue is not enough to justify G2 picking up over Caps. Obviously they shouldn't. Why would G2 ever pick me up over Caps? Larson was one of the most sought after mids this season. There's no reason a team can justify looking at Nemesis over him. Okay. No one is disagreeing with this though. Well, no one is disagreeing with this. Nobody. Nobody. It is actually the opposite. I agree with what you're saying. They should not look to make me go there. I agree. Keith Mabry hit rank 1 in Korean solo queue, but that didn't translate on stage at all. Dumb comment. That is a fucking dumb comment. Now he's suggesting his association to show his own pro career by stating he'd only continue his pro career if he got something that would be impossible to get. It is not impossible to get. You know why? Because the players that I want to play with do want to play with me. They do. The players that I want to play with all want to play with me. Do you understand? I've talked to them in person. On one-on-one. They do want to play with me. They do think I'm a good player and they respect me. So what are you saying? Impossible to get. If it was impossible to get, we wouldn't be here talking like this. A similar comparison would be Svenskeren at the end of his C9 tenture saying he'd only want to say if he got players like Showmaker, Chovy, and Nuguri. Yes, because I am demanding Korean players, right? I'm really demanding to play with Korean players. In fact, I've demanded 0 Korean players. This guy, man. Holy fuck. And also, how am I being compared to Svenskeren? Like, I'm sorry, but this is fucking offensive to me. Like, what the fuck? Every time someone would be in similar situations Nemesis, they would have to play in ERLs or lower tier LCS teams to prove themselves again, so they can work in that environment before a top team would consider them. Nemesis being unwilling to do that is him saying he doesn't want to be a pro gamer. Nobody ruined Nemesis' career but Nemesis. Dude, I went over this like a fucking billion times. A billion fucking times. The people who join bottom tier teams in LCS or LEC are the people who have no alternatives. I have an alternative via streaming. Those people do not. You understand? That's why it is not the same situation. Also, this is also not true. When people go to a bottom tier team, what can happen is, even after they prove themselves, the fucking bottom tier team still kicks them. Oh, let's think about Crownshot. Didn't Crownshot prove himself on BDS? By having an amazing split carrying them for majority of the time? What happened now? He's fucking gone again. Wow, bro. What can also happen is contract jail. Why did he get kicked? I would be in trouble if I told you. Dude, like, these people are so fucking dumb. They think you're just going to throw away your life to some idiots who have no clue what they're doing, right, in the scene. And then you're just gonna, like, fucking be their slave there for, like, 2-3 years until someone can finally get you out. And then they're just gonna fucking toss you into another dumb team. Like, how does he manage to say everything wrong? This guy's a fucking idiot. Holy shit. Thoughts about the new dub block? I watched it on stream. I mean, some things are good. But that means you giving up on being a pro player. Don't you want to win at the highest level? I do. I do want to win at the highest level. But there's a line that I'm not willing to cross because I already crossed it. You understand? Like, you can't just, like, people are like, like, maybe you guys like self-torture or something, okay? But you can't go to a war, get your fucking arm chopped off, and then you expect me to go war again to get the other arm chopped off. Like, what the fuck? At some point, you need to have some self-respect as a human. Like, I'm not fucking dealing with the same bullshit that I've dealt while being a pro player. Like, I'm going in on my like, how do you say it? On my, I don't know the word I'm looking for. English. My terms, yeah. Like, it's fine. You don't want to pick me? It's your loss. I'm totally fine being here. Like, the alternative that I have, I'm happy with. I'm not, like, you can keep going. You can keep going, guys. Like, you can keep making this, like, you can keep going to Worlds and getting shit on by Asian teams every year and looking like fucking fools until esports dies. Like, you do you. I've literally been a pro player at peak time in Europe. At peak time. Everything went downhill after I left. Especially for Fnatic. I'm not saying I'm the reason why it went downhill, but I was for sure a big part of why it went downhill. Like, I did a lot for them. I even hired their best I solo hired 2 of their best coaches Fnatic's ever had, by the way. And I'm not talking about LS, because he was never like hired. 2 of the best coaches Fnatic has ever had. I've hired them for them. And a lot of other things I did for them. Wow, what a nice song right now. Like, this comment is just so dumb, it actually triggers me. Like, he just manages to say half of wrong fucking shit. Disgusting. Thoughts on veteran saying he wanted 7 figures to play for Vitality after 2020? I can easily address that. I have never in 2020 talked to Vitality about any money. We didn't even come to the money part discussion. It was not talked. I have also never in my entire life demanded 7 figures from any esports team that I've talked to. Never. Is that good enough? My word against his. He said you asked 7 figures from NA? I promise you I did not. I fucking promise you. Like, I don't know what else to do. I have never talked 7 figures to any NA org either.
Was up.
Like, that's just someone made that information up. Like, what can I do, man? Esports. Nork Phil TV, thank you for Twitch Prime. I demanded 8 figures. Yeah, surely. There was actually one time, okay, I can tell you guys a story, okay? Something happened one time, okay? In certain year, I was talking to an NA org to join, okay? I was in discussions. And then, when I was talking to the owner, I'm not gonna mention it by name, the owner mistaken me for someone else. So, okay, there was a player that there was a player that asked the org, like messaged the owner that he demands like 1 million, 1.5 million or something like that. And then the owner mistaken me that I was the person who, because the person who messaged that deleted the message apparently. So then the owner mistaken that I was asking for that money when I never did. And I was really like, wait, why am I getting accused of something that I didn't do? And then the owner was like, oh wait, I'm mistaken and I apologize. I was like, yeah, totally fine. Like, I have no issue. Like, it's just good that it's resolved because I don't want to be seen as someone who demands like millions from orgs when I really don't. Okay, well, that's it. End this topic and start the game. Sorry, I'll queue up. Holy moly. Saw this yet? Yeah, I did. I saw the new jump. Fnatic subreddit. Oh my god. So I really need to check. Come on. 49 comments? Oh no. Alright, let's see what people have to say. I mean, I'm fine, like, listen. Red players, people with up in the analysis, narrow and the simplistic ones, how they don't see the bigger picture. Blue players are critical by. That's why you call pushing a narrative. Also, there's this other player, including the one he won himself. I agree that this is pushing narrative. But I didn't ruin Narcis's career, he did that to himself by never joining a team. Both sides made mistake. I really wonder what mistake I did. I really wonder. I really wonder. Should I even read this? I don't think there's any point, guys. There's no point, come on. Fuck, I got jungle. Dodge. Free content? I mean... You can call it free content, but at the same time it's like... I just hate dealing with this, because it's like... I've adjusted and read comments like this like for years already, and it's just annoying at this point. It's actually brain rot. Adjust the Spain allegations? I don't know what the Spain allegations are. I don't understand where this is coming from. What the fuck are Spain allegations? What kind of allegations happened in Spain? Like what? Everyone knows how complicated it is to work with Nemesis. Tell that to people at Mad Lions Spain in 2018, because here in Spain we know the whole story. And about Selfmade as well. Please tell me. What the fuck are the Spain allegations, man? I would love to know. I don't know, man. I would love to know. I don't know. What champ will I play in your first game in the new season? I don't know. Anything. I'll just spam everything. The allegation that you single-handedly made every Spanish woman to fall in love. Okay, man. You got me. There you go. You got me, man. Do I think Victor really needed this rework? You mean Arcane rework? It's not even confirmed. It's Victor. Yeah, I don't know. What the hell are Spain allegations? Listen, I mean, I don't know like what to do. Okay, like the video that this guy made on me is like fine, but the reality is there's like so much more, right? But I feel like adjusting all of this is so useless because it's too much time has passed, and like what am I even getting from it at this point? Like there's no upside to me saying anything. How to reply on negative comments. 90s tutorial. Thanks. Did you ever do a tryout with a team since 2020? I did do one tryout a couple of months ago, but it wasn't with a team, it was with players. More so than a team. When I was in Korea, like what, 2-3 months ago? But yeah, the thing is like tryouts don't happen anymore, you know? So like if you go if you go like 5 years ago, a lot of teams did tryouts on players, but like nowadays like players just get picked up. In LEC, I mean, tryouts happen in like lower leagues probably, but in LEC tryouts usually don't happen anymore. Most teams just pick up the players just on who they are or what they know from before. Honestly, the various parties people always think you should give up the money to make streaming to join some bottom of the bin solo queue players to prove yourself. It's not even about money. Like, I'm not saying money is not important, right? Because we all want to live with a future. I definitely don't want to live fucking homeless, right? A couple of years from now on. Especially because I didn't finish high school and stuff. It's not like money is not the main factor for me. It's more about that I know how shit the esports scene is. I know it is. I've seen it for years. I know it from other players. Majority of other players also think it's a shithole. I don't want to deal with the problems that I've dealt with. The most important part of a team are the players. Players win championships, not organizations. So if you want me to play, I'll play with players I want to play. That has not happened. I have never played with players I want to play. However, I did really like playing on Fnatic with Fnatic players. I did. Like with all of them. Like I really like playing on Fnatic roster. Both 2019 and 2020. I have nothing like against any of those players. I like playing with all of them. But, you know. La la la. I can start the queue. Can I play more Corki? It sounds like a big part is the org, not just the players. To an extent. But the problem is that, like, when it comes to orgs, you're usually just choosing bat with bat. Okay? The best org in Europe, for the most part, is G2. I can tell you that. It's also the reason why they've been winning year after year, or being competitive to winning. They are the best org in a lot of ways. They also have some downsides. Like every org has them. But the thing is, like, maybe it's actually a good thing that you go to a dump org. Because then you maybe get more control as a player. And I'm not even kidding when it comes to that. A good org is not going to let players do whatever the fuck you want. But a dump org might. Why didn't you win then if the players are so important? I mean, we didn't win because we had a lot of issues, and we you know, we did a lot of things wrong. We did a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, you can't expect somebody to just win all the time. It won't happen. There is no player that is just going to constantly win. That won't happen. You're going to have dominant players, like Faker, who won 4 Worlds, but he didn't win every Worlds, he won 4. Right? Faker also didn't win every LCK title. Faker also didn't win every MSI. It just won't happen. But you can't say that like, oh, you know, Fnatic roster was a failure, because we were very competitive still. Both 2019 and 2020 when we played, we were very competitive. We were very close to winning a lot of splits. We had decent results at Worlds. Realistically, probably should have been semis in 2020. We probably should have won the series over top esports. In 2019, we were way worse than FPX for sure. We also, both 2019 and 2020, we had really hard groups at Worlds, and we got both years out of groups at Worlds. Right? So, if you compare 2019 and 2020 compared to, let's say, 2021, 2022, and 2023 of Fnatic, or whatever, we were better. We produced way better results. Both domestically, internationally, and a big important part is social media, or like popularity, whatever you want to call it. Like, we were just way more likable, and we produced way more content, which is important. If you don't think content is important, you're dumb. It's very important as a pro player. Did you see what happened with LEC tickets? No. Popularity is correlated to success? I agree. It is in a way, yeah. Yeah. How was Rakdos to play with? I mean, there's like, I don't want to describe a person just by a few sentences, because I think that does them wrong, but I think every player that I played with had a lot of good things and a lot of bad things, right? That's just how humans work, including myself. Personally, I enjoy playing with Rakdos, yeah? In a lot of ways. I enjoy playing with him. Playing for an LCK team is not realistic. LCK teams will not pick up Western players, and even if they do, they will usually be bottom tier LCK teams, which are not good, and you will face a lot of other issues that you will not face playing in Europe or America. You will also face some upside, like Korean solo queue. So I think people need to remove the idea of playing for an LCK team, because it is not a good path